Hello and welcome to TB3 episode 57. I wish we could be, coming to you guys with better news. But first off, we're down a member. Our beloved Will is sick. He was at Raymond James Stadium twice this weekend, and that's enough to kill a man. So luckily for us, Will was only just got, he got sick from being at Raymond James twice this weekend.
That's two heartbreakers in a row.
Man, it was brutal.
Takes it out of you.
Actually, he might actually have gotten sick from being at Raymond James because on Saturday night we were surrounded by Miami fans and they threw up right behind us. So, you never know why Will's sick, but we're going to say it's because of those dumb Miami fans and their throw up. But we'll get into that in our other episode. This is episode 57. We're talking pro sports. And man, it's been good recently, especially with Bucs football.
Even the Rays.
Even the Rays have been playing a little bit better. We'll get into them later. But, Bucs football, they're coming off a huge win against the Lions. No one expected them to win. They're coming back home. Rookie quarterback, Bo Nix, an old friend that I think we'll get into later that might own the Bucs. But we didn't think that. It's the Broncos, 0-2 versus 2-0, headed into Raymond James Stadium. Surely the Bucs will, pick up a nice win and go 3-0, right? Right?
Yeah, looking back at it now, it does feel like a trap game, like going into the Eagles.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, they got us, these darn Broncos.
It was a trap game for sure, and the Bucs came out very, very flat. And that was evident from the first drive of the game as the Denver Broncos would go down 6 plays, 70 yards in just under 4 minutes and score an opening drive touchdown, something the Bucs are unable to do. That is now 23 straight games.
I was going to say, what's the number now?
I think it's 23.
It's getting up there. We're going to get 30 before you know it.
Speaking of opening drives for the Bucs, they've been scoring field goals on their opening drives. That's been at least an okay trend. On this opening drive, they went 3 and out, and that would be the story of the Bucs offense.
Ooh, we got 2 yards though.
Whew. Later on in the first quarter, Baker Mayfield would throw an interception. It was picked off by Jones, and he would take it down into Tampa Bay territory. And then 4 plays, 9 yards later, the Denver Broncos would score another touchdown. This was cultivated by a 4th down and goal at the 1-yard line. Jaleel McLaughlin on the edge looking to, get the edge. Anthony Ellison busts out there, almost makes a heck of a play, but he's juked, and Jaleel McLaughlin, that is a tough thing to say, just sneaks in the pylon, and the Broncos are up 14-0. And it would get even worse as the Broncos would add on a field goal on their next drive, 17-0. But the Bucs got the big play they needed in the second quarter as the Broncos would fumble. A fumble on the ground. Bucs recover. It went to review. They said he was down. He was not. The Bucs get the football, and they would capitalize. They would go 6 plays, 67 yards, and they would get a touchdown. 17-7. This touchdown was Chris Godwin. All this guy does in 2024 is catch passes and score touchdowns. 17-7 is your score, but the Bucs would not be able to keep that momentum as they would let the Broncos go back down the field and get a field goal right before halftime. Halftime, your score is Broncos 20, Buccaneers 7. And the Bucs would get the ball to start the second half, looking to get a big drive to shift the momentum of this game. But they would only go 5 plays, 19 yards, and punt the ball to the Broncos. Then it would be a slew of punts back and forth until the Broncos would add another field goal to make it 23-7. The Bucs would finally get a solid drive, 10 plays, 45 yards. But on the Denver 25, 4th down and 3, Baker Mayfield was sacked, and the Bucs had to turn it over on downs. And this was pretty much where the game ended. The Broncos would get a big run and tack on another field goal to make it 26-7. Bucs would end up fumbling. Just a nightmare of a game. The Broncos would win this one 26-7 to really, rain on a parade, or stop the cannons from firing, if you will.
Yep, it's a moment where you wake up from the dream a little bit. You're like, oh, okay, maybe there are some things for the team that we thought were shored up, and they weren't. So.
Yeah, first losses for any sport, they hit the hardest, man. Because you forget what it feels like to lose a game, man.
Yeah, it's like you're going 162-0. What is it now, 17-0 in football? It's like you don't plan on losing.
And seriously, I remember when the Rays went 13-0, man. That first loss hurt, man.
It hurt so bad.
Yeah, it hurt.
Because we kept flirting with losing, and then we didn't.
Yeah. No, that was Yeah, the first loss in any sport is always the hardest. Sometimes it's good to get it done in week 1, but the Bucs didn't. They got a nice head start, 2-0, but they would fall. And I think when you go back before we get into the nitty gritty of the offense and defense, I think we have to mention kind of the monkey on our backs, the boogeyman for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Sean Payton.
Sean Payton, man, he just cannot seem to be beaten in the regular season. 7-0 in the regular season since Todd Bowles took over the defense in 2019. And now, looking at the bright side, looking at the silver lining, we all remember the Super Bowl run beating Sean Payton. Or did we beat?
Yes.
Yeah, that was still the year he was coaching.
That's why it's in the regular season, because he was beat by
So,
Todd Bowles in the playoffs.
We got the one that matters, but 7-0. It's a number that's growing.
Every time I look at that win in 2020 against the Saints, that was the most impressive win they got. That was just crazy that they did that.
Because, think about it. You go 2-0 in the regular season, but you get him in the postseason.
It was awesome. It was huge for us. But, yeah, Sean Payton really does seem to have Todd Bowles' number. This offense for the Broncos kind of marched up and down the field, and I think we can get into it because the Broncos' offense was, did a lot better than they've done in past weeks. I mean, we look back and we look at the Broncos' prior games. I mean, week 1 against the Seahawks, they scored 20 points. Seahawks are 3-0 right now, but I'm not really sold on if they're going to be a great or, just good or mediocre team right now. And then you look at last week at home, they only scored 6 points in front of their home fans against the Steelers. So this is not by no means a potent offense that the Bucs should be really worried about. But the Bucs defense was just not there, and it especially started up front as Bo Nix was not sacked at all in this game. 0 sacks for the Bucs defense, and they would only get 2 tackles for loss the entire game. Only 2 quarterback hits. So up front, Joel, what are you seeing? Do you think that this is due to injuries, no Vita Vea, no Kalijah Kancey, or do we have some serious concerns still with this Bucs front 7?
I mean, Vita Vea is the quarterback of the defense in my mind, so when he's out of the game, you always feel his absence. So I think that's a large part of it. But I don't know what Vita Vea's injury is right now, but if it's something that's lingering, that's really concerning for me.
So Vita Vea, honestly, this kind of set the tone for how the Bucs came into this game. But Vita Vea practiced a little bit last week, and it was kind of one of those things where it was like, this was a tougher game. I think Vita Vea would have toughed it out and played this week, but it's early on in the season. You don't want to have a lingering issue, like Joel said. So I would expect Vita Vea to be back, hopefully this week, if not in the near future. I think a lot of these players that the Bucs have injured are going to be coming back. I mean, Antoine Winfield was out of his boot last week at practice. Looking to maybe play this week against the Eagles, which would be fantastic. And then Kalijah Kancey, we don't know what's up with him, but hopefully this lingering calf issue is going to go. But I do think this defensive line was, very mediocre, and I think this has been a couple weeks in a row as, man, the Lions, we kind of got a pass because our secondary played so good. The Bucs were able to get some late pressure on the quarterback, get some quarterback hits, but they didn't sack Jared Goff, and now they didn't sack Bo Nix, and I do think that this is kind of a thing with mobile quarterbacks. We've seen it now with Bo Nix and Jalen Daniels, that the mobile quarterback has given the Bucs defensive line some fits. They're just not able to get them down. Do you think that, coming in the future, do you think that the Bucs have the personnel to be able to, take down some mobile quarterbacks, or do you think this is going to be a problem, even going as far as this week against Jalen Hurts, who is a mobile quarterback?
I think that might be something just in the culture of Todd Bowles being a more old school defensive coordinator with that kind of mindset, like where he's not really like built for the mobile quarterback game. So it is kind of scary thinking that we are going to play Jalen Hurts this week. So
yeah, and we did look. After Jalen Hurts, there's not many more mobile quarterbacks on the schedule. Some guys that like to create outside of the pocket and throw. But Jalen Hurts is the last, oh, no, Lamar Jackson too. We do play Lamar Jackson. But other than that, not many mobile quarterbacks on the Buccaneers schedule. But, yeah, I do think defensive line was very lackluster. I think Will Golston, Greg Gaines did not have the same impacts that they had in the Lions game. They were not getting the late pressure. I look at only a couple times that I saw pressure was one, Anthony Nelson. He actually forced a fumble on a play that got negated because of a penalty offsides. That one really hurt. That could have changed the whole game. And then also Joe Tryon-Shoyinka was able to hit Bo Nix's arm, but he wasn't there early enough for it to be a fumble. But that could have been a game-changing play. But there was no sacks. I'm gonna pull it up right now. But Broncos also, on the other aspect of the defensive line, the Broncos ran for 136 yards, and this was a team that really was not able. They want to run the ball, but it wasn't able to get going. I mean, I know I had Javonte Williams on my fantasy team, and he's been riding my bench because that man has been doing nothing for this whole entire season. But him and McLaughlin had really good games, and yeah, this Bucs defensive line was really, really disappointing. I think this is for up and down. I mean, Yaya Diaby non-existent, JTS non-existent. I mean, just wasn't a good game for this Bucs defensive front.
Yeah, if you're not hearing their name on the telecast, you know it's not a good game.
Yeah,
they're just talking about the offense instead.
Yeah, and especially for this Bucs defense, it really, they put the Bucs in a hole as they let the Broncos score in 3 of their first 4 possessions. It is good to note that Baker Mayfield did throw the interception that one possession, so it was a short field. But like we said, Bucs could have gotten off the field on that play. That 4th down and goal, Anthony Nelson read the play. He was there. He just didn't make the tackle. And tackling is something that Todd Bowles actually mentioned in his press conference that had to be better. That was the first thing he mentioned. The reporter asked, what went wrong in this game? And he said tackling has to be better.
That was something I noticed in the Detroit game, too. It was like there was some tackles that we did not make.
Yeah, especially I think the linebackers, too, were not great here. I think KJ Britt has really, really been disappointing this season. I think KJ Britt, I've been seeing film all over him just taking horrible angles to the ball, getting burnt, not making the tackles. And, at this point, I think Servache Dennis has clearly outplayed him. So I think it's time for, Todd Bowles to consider, making the switch, making Servache the starter. And, I don't know, man.
I think that Todd Bowles has had a little bit more inclination to do that kind of stuff of late. So
for sure,
that's good. Like I'm more trusting in Todd Bowles than it would have been last year.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, bro, you're dreaming. Like this time last year, but now it's like, hey, there's a chance. There's a chance.
Yeah, and I do think on the front of Todd Bowles and kind of how this Bucs team seems to be a little bit different than the other teams under Todd Bowles' tenure is. This was a really angry locker room, I'll say, after this Bucs loss, because I saw at least 3 players come out and say, "Man, that was unacceptable effort." I heard Baker Mayfield say it, I heard Todd Bowles say it, I heard Christian Eisen say it, I heard Zion McCollum say it. Everyone was, this Bucs team expects to win, and I don't think this loss should really change our expectations. I think it's the NFL. We've seen some wacky losses. The Carolina Panthers with Andy Dalton went on the road, or I don't know if it's on the road, but they went and got a win this weekend. So it's the NFL. These are professional football players. Anything can happen any week. And I do think that the Bucs, their effort was just a little bit lackluster. Their focus was a little bit lackluster. And I think they determined this outcome by not coming out flat.
Yeah. Look at the Bengals, like 0-3. Like they're really good and they're 0-3, so.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is good to hear that the players are upset about this because last year you would only ever hear it from Todd Bowles, and it would always be like, oh, yeah, we need to re-execute next week, or we're going to look at the drawing board, and we're going to see what things went wrong. So it's good to hear the players coming out about this as well. And I think that means this slide will be short because if the players want it, they're going to come out next week ready, seeing those holes, finding ways to fill them, finding ways to fix them, and there's reason to believe we can beat the Eagles. Like, they're not the Eagles of yesteryear.
If they were the Eagles of yesteryear, they'd be losing 31-9 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because that's what happened in the playoffs. But yeah, I completely agree. I
don't know if today's the day to be lingering on playoff history because we're like, oh, remember that one time we beat Sean Payton? Oh yeah. 0-7. That doesn't matter.
Hey, win them when you count. You
Right.
guys can win the regular season. We're going to win the playoff games. That's what we do here in Tampa Bay, unless you're the Rays. Yeah, so definitely good to see the culture kind of shifting. I think that Zion McCollum has still been fantastic. I think he is the second best corner as for PFF when it comes to passer rating with receivers that he's guarding in the NFL. So Zion McCollum had a really good game. I think that defensive-wise, Jamel Dean, 13 tackles, probably points to the fact that he's a cornerback. You should not be tackling that many people unless you're having a bad game covering. So I'll say Jamel Dean, decent. Christian Eisen, in there. He's going to be a dog. Levante David, highest tackle count of the season, 8 total tackles. Yeah, Tyke Smith. Tyke Smith, that's what I'm talking about. Tyke Smith is a rookie out of Georgia, if you guys did not know. And, yeah, Tyke Smith had a really good game, 6 tackles. He had a tackle for loss and a pass breakup that almost could have been an interception. But in the last 2 games, Tyke Smith has been really all over the place. His presence has been felt notably. And I've been really impressed. He's playing that nickel spot that Christian Eisen was playing last year. They have Tyke Smith in there because he's a bigger guy, so he can play the run a little bit better. And he's done a really good job. And, I'm looking at the PFF grades. Zion McCollum was number 1 out of all the Bucs with a 90.8 PFF grade on defense. Tyke Smith, the rookie, was number 3. He had an 85 overall PFF grade. If you guys are not familiar with PFF grades, they're rated out of 100. And it's a mathematic equation that kind of judges your whole performance on the football field that was created by the beautiful people at Pro Football Focus. So, yeah, 2 rookies on the top 5 of the PFF grades, but we'll get into offense later.
That's exciting. They're only going to get better.
Yeah, and I do think the young players really were the highlight of Sunday because they were the ones that, I think the veterans were the ones that really came out flat, the ones that did not do good. The rookies, they kind of were playing – they were playing like they didn't know it was a trap game. They just came. They were there because they loved the game. And you could see that youthful exuberance in the game and how the rookies were really the best players on the field on Sunday.
Yeah, and that may have been the reason why some of the bigger guys stepped up because they're like, might not even been the head coach. They might have said, these youngsters showed us what was wrong. Like, we got to clean this up next week.
Yeah, so that's a great thing for the culture. Yeah. It's everyone holding each other accountable. And like Joel said, I think that we're in for a bounce back. Maybe, I know Eagles are a tough team. They got a lot of talent. It might not be a full bounce back with a win, even though I do think the Bucs have all the capability in the world to win this game. But just in general of play, it's going to be a bounce back for sure.
I don't think we're going on a skid.
No, I don't think so either.
So I'll usually come on this show and I'll be like, sky's dark, guys, get ready. But I'm like, we'll be all right. We might lose the next week, but I think we'll be all right after that. Ship's not sinking. We're good.
Yeah, and to add on to, just the Bucs' lackluster defensive performance, the Denver Broncos averaged 4.9 yards per carry rushing the ball. It's almost 5 yards per carry, man. That's really unacceptable. Really need to see the Bucs get healthy in the defensive line. That's going to be huge. And also, another thing that on paper would make you think maybe the Bucs are in for a skid is in the last 2 weeks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been outgained yardage-wise by both their opponents. They won one game, they lost it. I lost another game, but it's gonna be interesting to see how they bounce back. But I think me and Joel are both, in the camp that we feel good about this future. I guess I can pose this question to you. Does this loss change your outlook on the Buccaneers season that you had maybe a week ago or before the season started?
No, I think my outlook the whole time has been like we're going to win at least one playoff game, hopefully get to like the championship game, and you're going to have some bumps and bruises along the way. Me and Colby were saying like there's always that one random Bucs loss every season, so maybe this is the one random Bucs loss. And then we can point back and be like, oh, well, it's Sean Payton. That's why he lost, of course. So hopefully that's the scenario we're looking at come January, February.
I'm so glad you said that because I have written down some crazy, really bad Bucs losses that have happened since the Tom Brady era started. This is since the Bucs have gone to the playoffs 4 years in a row. And I'll read them off for you guys just to go down memory lane of trash. It all started in Chicago, 2020. The Bucs lost to the Chicago Bears. I don't know if you remember that. It was, oh my gosh, that was the game that Tom Brady spiked the ball. I think it was on 4th down or he threw it away.
Oh, yeah. He's like, I forgot what down it is.
Yes.
I forgot what down it is.
Yep, and that was a really low point in the 2020 season. And then you flash forward to 2021. After the Bucs have literally won the Super Bowl, the Washington Commanders beat the Bucs.
I remember that game like it was
home.
Yesterday.
Bad game, man. I think Tom Brady got sacked a bunch. Really, really not a fun game. And then 2022, I think everyone on this panel has said that was probably definitely the worst Bucs playoff team out of these bunches, probably in the history, to be honest with you. in terms of Bucs teams that's been to the playoffs. But in 2022, this Bucs team lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their quarterback was Mitch Trubisky. Really, really rough game.
I was gonna say because Mitch Trubisky was on the Bears in 2020.
You know who was the quarterback of that game? Was not Mitch Trubisky.
Was it Foles?
It was Nick Foles.
Okay.
And that was another storyline about that game.
Yeah, because I was trying to remember. I was like, was this a rookie quarterback that year? Because like rookie quarterbacks always be getting us.
Yes, Daniel Jones. You remember that?
Oh
my
gosh,
that was bad. C.J. Stroud last year. That gets me into 2023. Houston and also New Orleans Saints in 2023. The Bucs lost to those teams, and they were just fine, going 9-8, and even winning a playoff game. And then this year, Denver Broncos 2024. So I think the Bucs have set a precedent of losing games that they really should win, 1 or 2 a year, but they still made the playoffs. In the case of 2020, 2021, and 2023, they won a playoff game. 2020, they obviously won the Super Bowl. It can be done. I'm with Joel. I do not think that the outlook of these Tampa Bay Buccaneers should be any different than what it was against Detroit. Do I think that, in a way, the Detroit game might have been a little bit lucky? They might have, they definitely, it was a gritty win. That was not a pretty win by any means. I'm not going to say it was lucky, but it was a gritty win. That's not a way you want to win in most times. Let's say it like that. But you got to remember, in Detroit and in this game, the Bucs were heavily, heavily injured. I mean, maybe your best player pound for pound on your team has not played the last 2 games, Antoine Winfield. Maybe your other best player pound for pound in some people's minds, Vita Vea, has not played in his last 2 games. He played the first half. You get my point. Kalijah Kancey was supposed to have a breakout season. He has not played at all this season. Looking for him to come back and be a big, big key, and that's on defense. So that's what we've seen from just the yardage that's been allowed, and then even just the outlook. I mean, Luke Gedeke. I mean, we'll get into offense in a second, but his impact and lack of presence has been felt very, very often in these last 2 games. So you got to think about the injuries. You got to think about the fact that the Bucs are 2-1. They are number 1 in the NFC South right now.
Yeah.
And the sky is not falling.
And just last night for us being Monday, like looking at the Bengals, it's like it could be so much worse. Like I think the Bengals will probably still find a way into the playoffs, but like
0-3 is hard.
It's hard, but like they're the Bengals. Like they played really good last night.
I mean, and even last night.
I mean, there's 3 wild card spots.
That's
nowadays,
true.
So.
I mean, even last night though, they're playing the Commanders.
Yeah.
And now the Commanders are 2-1.
Speaking of that, like I think we caught the Commanders at a good time. We did.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback. But even now, that looks like a good win. That's a better win than what it looks like at first. That's another good point. So
it's like there was some bright spots this week.
Yes.
Commanders made us look really good.
The Panthers won. Just crazy stuff right there. While we're on defense, so Will does have some thoughts. He was going to tell us. So, yeah, basically, Will's thoughts right now, just on the outlook of the Bucs. He's texting from his sick cave that he's relegated to because he got barfed on at the Miami game by the classless Miami Hurricane fans. I'm going to keep saying that because I hate them. But Will says both sides of the trenches failed the Buccaneers on Sunday. The D-line couldn't get any pressure on Bo Nix, and the offensive line could not protect Baker. Frustrating loss. And it's mostly frustrating because the Bucs schedule gets really tough coming up, which is true. And you can't walk away with a win against teams that or with a loss against teams you shouldn't beat, and that is completely true. And yeah, it's true. You get manhandled on both sides, defensively and offensively. And we can just get into offense because offensive line might have been the biggest problem in this whole entire game. Baker Mayfield was sacked 7 times. 7 times on Sunday. That makes it 12 times in 2 games Baker Mayfield has been sacked. And before we go any further, Joel, I mean, do you think that this is all on Justin School being the backup, or do we have bigger problems?
I personally like being hopeful in this question. I think it is all Justin School filling in right now because I don't know football well, but like from my naive naked eye, I'm like, wow, please, Luke Gedeke, you gotta get healthy, man, please. So I think I said the joke a couple weeks ago, but I'm gonna do it again. I think we're getting schooled.
The good news is Luke Gedeke did clear concussion protocol, and it is hopefully very likely that he will play on Sunday against the Eagles. So with him back, we'll see with him back, we'll see if this is a long-term problem or if this was. Yeah,
if it happens again next week, that's where it's like, all right, where's the diving board? I got to get off the ship.
Oh man, the plank.
Yes, the plank. I need the plank.
Yeah, I do think that Luke Gedeke, his absence is a huge part of this offensive line. I think a lot of people, when you're newer to football, you just kind of see offensive linemen as big guys, and they're just blocking their person, they're one-on-one. But there's a lot of chemistry and inner workings that goes on with the offensive line, picking up stunts, knowing where your guy's going to be, knowing if a running back's coming or a tight end, how to play off each other, where to go, how to work together. And I do think not having one of your five that's been a part of your unit, since training camp started. I mean, this was the starting five, with Luke Gedeke was pretty much likely going to be the starters the whole time from training camp. So these guys have been playing together a lot, and I do think losing one person does hurt your offensive line chemistry. But
especially on the outside, you just kind of go around. You're like, I'm just going to go around the corner.
And as simple as what Joel said sounds, that is exactly what happened multiple times. Especially
I'm going to go this way.
He literally, that is Justin School cannot deal with the speed rush. People are just running around him. It happened a couple times on Sunday, and I'm like, dude, come on. But on the other side, to be devil's advocate, if you will, Ben Britterson and Cody Mauch have quite frankly have to play better. These guys were getting mauled up front in the trenches. I mean, there was a lot of interior pressure coming. There's blitzes that were not being picked up by the interior of the line. And, I look at it here. Graham Barton is not the problem. And he's never has been the problem. He had about a 75 PFF grade. I've seen plenty of highlights of Graham Barton just down the field mauling people in the run game, protecting Baker, good snaps all the time. I trust Graham Barton. I know what I'm getting from him. It's the people right next to him. Britterson and Mauch have got to play better. The run game has not been good. This is the second game in a row where the Bucs have run for less than 100 yards on the ground. And then you pair that with the fact that Baker Mayfield is getting sacked 7 times.
I'm scared for his health at this point.
It is a little bit scary. He's getting hit hard, and it's scary for the Bucs offense because that's what's derailing them. Sacks is what the Bucs can move up and down the field. They have the weapons to do it. They have all this potential, a great offensive coordinator, all of this going their way. If you can't protect Baker, you're not going to be able to sustain drives because you're taking big losses on first down. You're not being able to convert on third down. The Bucs were 3 for 11 on third down and 0 for 2 on fourth down. A lot of these sacks were happening on third down, or the pressure was happening on third down, or these were third down and long, and the Bucs were in a situation where they just could not get the conversion. It's NFL defenses. You're not going to be able to convert third and long as much as maybe in college or something. They have to stop letting sacks derail their drives, and that starts with hopefully a healthy Luke Gedeke, but more importantly, the guys that are going to keep playing, Britterson and Mauch. They have to do a better job.
Yeah, and I didn't look at this up close, but is Baker holding the ball like a millisecond too long?
There is a couple. There's a couple times where Baker Mayfield's kind of doing his own thing with sacks. I did see Baker Mayfield seems to, when he gets sacked early in the games, he becomes a lot less confident.
Yeah, and I think you see that out of a lot of quarterbacks. Like we said that with Tom Brady over the years.
So I think you did see in the second half, especially, Baker Mayfield was holding onto the ball a tad bit later than you would like him to. I saw someone breaking it down from PFF or from Pewter Report, I'm pretty sure, kind of breaking down the film and saying who the sack was on. This is not official stats. This is just something I saw on Twitter. But in that breakdown, he said 3 of the sacks were on Baker out of the 7. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting. Definitely going to be – actually, it might have been quarterback pressures. Baker had a part in some of these sacks is basically what we're saying.
Like when you're racking up 7, it's like, all right, some of the blame's got to go around.
Yeah, and this was not a great game for Baker Mayfield. I look at his stats, 25 for 33, only 163 yards passing, a touchdown, an interception, a 10.3 quarterback rating. Very, very unlike Baker. And I think this comes down to the fact that obviously the sacks hurt him. No secret there. But like Joel said, he was definitely not as crisp with reading the defense and hitting the receivers that he needed to hit as he should have been. I think there was, looking at some of the film, there were some moments where people like Evans or Godwin or even Jalen McMillan, they were open, and Baker Mayfield just didn't trust him or his teammates or the line enough to make that throw, and that's not the Baker Mayfield we want to see. We want to see the Baker Mayfield that is confident and is ripping the throws in there, because that's when he's at his best. That's what he's been the first couple weeks of this season. But yesterday he was not that. So I guess I'll pose this question to you. Joel, are you concerned about Baker Mayfield going forward?
I was just looking at it right now. I was trying to see how much rushing he had in the game. And I'm looking at it on ESPN. It says he had no rushing yards. So that's a little bit concerning. It's my Baker Mayfield runs a little bit. Where's the running this week, Baker? We need that if we're going to do the cooking we're supposed to be doing in the kitchen.
Well, unfortunately, last week against Detroit, there was one guy on him, so he's able to kind of get away from people. This weekend, there was 2 or 3 people on him, so he just was not getting away from people, unfortunately.
Because in Washington, he got 21 yards. So it's if we want the Baker that you're supposed to get, the Baker we want, he's got to have 20 to 40 yards a game.
And he has to have 50 yards of rolling out, scrambling, and throwing on the run, because that really is an underrated part of Baker's game. But yeah, I think Baker will be fine. But
it's hard to base it off of one loss, but it's oh man, we're not even 10 yards.
Yeah. That's a big indicator of how much pressure there really was on Baker. Yeah. There was a play I can vividly remember where there's 2 people on Baker. He took the hit from both the people, was going to escape, but then there was a third person there to take him down, and it was man,
you can't have it.
He just can't. There's nothing he could do, man. So I think pressure was the biggest downfall of this Bucs offense. And as for the other aspect of the offense, the rushing game, it's been a little bit of controversy. So as we look at the rushing game, the Bucs ran for 91 yards on the day on 16 carries. And most of this production came from Bucky Irving, who had a really, really good game. He had 9 carries for 70 yards against the Broncos, while Rachaad White only had 6 carries for 17 yards. That would be 7.8 yards per carry for Bucky Irving, as opposed to 2.8 yards per carry for Rachaad White.
Another big thing Bucky did was his long of the day was 32 yards.
That was a beautiful run.
That's nice.
That was it. Yeah.
It's when you look at the number, it's 32 yards. That's really good.
Oh yeah, it was a beautiful run. And Todd Bowles has already said that Bucky Irving has come out and earned more reps. So this could be coming into more of a 2-headed monster, as opposed to a Rachaad White with Bucky Irving backing him up type situation. I think Bucky Irving deserves it. I think a lot of people are quick to go in on Rachaad White, but I think this is a story of more giving props to Bucky Irving, because this guy's been running like a man possessed. Some of the jukes that this guy was hitting on Sunday blew my mind. Just the things that he's doing with his knees, it kind of reminded me of Kadarius Toney. I know that's a name that doesn't have good connotation anymore, but Bucky Irving is a shifty dude, and he's also able to get those tough yards. 70 yards rushing when your offensive line is having a bad day. Really, really,
and that's
really
only
exciting.
on 9 carries.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Yes, he was fantastic. I do like some of the play packages that Liam Cohen used Bucky Irving. There was a couple times where they had White and Irving on the field, and kind of that misdirection and baiting the defense into going for Rachaad White was a couple of the plays why Bucky Irving was able to get loose, and he made the most of it, man. I saw someone describe it today. 90% of the time, the first person is not going to tackle Bucky Irving. He is that shifty and he is that strong. He is a great back, and I'm excited to see what he does in this offense. As for Rachaad White, it is getting harder and harder to defend him. Yeah. It really is, because this is all 3 games where his rushing output has been pretty lackluster. I don't think any of us question his receiving, talent and potential, but his rushing output is getting less and less. He seems to just not get the extra yards when it's needed. I think he's gotten unlucky a lot of times. I think Liam Cohen could do a better job maybe getting Rachaad White in space the same way he gets Bucky Irving in space. But Rachaad White is getting harder to defend, and I would like to know your thoughts on this running back situation.
Again, I'll spew all over Rachaad White. Like, this is year 3, man. Like, we as Tampa Bay fans have been trying to defend you for 3 years, but you're like the lead man. You're the guy who is one of the head running backs of the worst rushing offense for the last 3 years. It's like, we're going to have to start blaming you, man. And for Todd Bowles to finally say, okay, we're going to start to hand off more of this to Bucky, that's a big deal because Todd Bowles never really admits when a player is not doing as good as he's supposed to be. So I like the maturity there, and hopefully as this begins to happen, Rachaad White doesn't create a scene in the locker room.
Yes, I agree with that. And also, I do think it shows Liam Cohen's pull on the Bucs offense and how much control he actually has, which is good. I think Liam Cohen should get the control. Yeah. I think it's good that Todd Bowles, listens to what Liam Cohen thinks for the Bucs offense because he's the offensive coordinator. He's the one calling the plays. That makes sense. And I do think it's good that Liam Cohen is using both the backs. I think even if Bucky Irving emerges into the starting running back, Rachaad White is going to get plenty of touches. This is not going to be something where we always pan over them and he's over there pouting because he's not getting any reps. I don't think that's the case, but I do think on first and second down, when you need to get those 3-4 yard chunks, even pop a big run, I think Bucky Irving's just going to be in more of those situations just because of how productive he is running. But I do think, even to answer your question, I don't think Rachaad White's going to ever make a scene in the locker room because he's going to have, even through the receiving game and through third down, giving Bucky a spell. I do think Rachaad White's going to get plenty of reps when it comes to this rushing game. But I do think it's good that, like we mentioned earlier, the culture, the vibes around this team. I think it's good that the Bucs are willing to give the younger player who's playing better more reps. So, anything else? I'm not seeing anything.
It was an ugly game.
It was a very ugly game.
We can't linger on it too long.
Yeah, it was an ugly game, and the Bucs need to bounce back. They cannot hang their head on this game. They have a tough opponent coming back into Raymond James. And I'll start this off. Raymond James Stadium for Buccaneers football was pretty disappointing on Sunday. Mostly for the fans show up. And a lot of this stems down to the fact that, it's a 1 p.m. game. I think a lot of the season ticket holders either did not show up or they sold their tickets to Broncos fans.
And that's an easy ticket sale because they don't come in much.
Exactly. So this is a bigger game. I get Broncos is not an enticing game on the schedule if you're a Bucs fan. You think it's going to be an easy win. But this is a playoff caliber team. This is still, in my opinion, a Super Bowl caliber team. You have to show up for your team. I mean, the tickets were cheap. They were $40 tickets. I had prior engagements. I had stuff I was doing. I might would have gone to the game because they were so cheap. And you got to show up. The show up and the attendance has to be better on Sunday because we know that Philadelphia Eagles fans are going to travel in droves. They're going to be there. So you have to, if you're going to go to the game Sunday, if you have season tickets, you better not be selling them. Go to the game or sell them to a Bucs fan. Make sure a Bucs fan gets them. And if you're on the fence go to the game as a Bucs fan. This is a fun game. This is a premier matchup. This is a historic rivalry. This is a premier matchup. We got Tom Brady on the call with Kevin Burkhardt. This is a big game.
You kind of just gave a reason for people to stay home.
True. I don't like Tom Brady calling the games. I'll say it.
I'm staying home to watch it. I'll admit it.
But show up to the game. Give the Bucs some cheer, some noise, because Sunday was unacceptable as one Bucs fan to another Bucs fan.
The announced attendance was 62,700. So.
A lot of Broncos fans.
Yeah, I was gonna say, were some of those seats empty too? Because it was too hot.
I think so. So the same situation. It's 1 p.m. on a Sunday, but you'll be able to recover later. You're never gonna get the experience of Bucs Eagles ever again on September 29th. 2024.
You just got to get one of those fans that blows right here.
Those are nice.
Blows
I like
up.
those.
Those are cool.
I like those a lot. But as for the game, this is a playoff rematch from another one from the wild card round last year where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won I think it was, what was it, 31-9 or was it 32-9? I always get this mixed up. The Buccaneers won this game handily in Raymond James Stadium. Me and our sick co-host Will, we were at the game. It was electric.
32-9.
32-9.
Yep.
One of the best games that, definitely the best Bucs game I've ever attended. Just really, really fun atmosphere. Great game. Trey Palmer, huge plays. Defense getting a safety, shutting down the Philadelphia Eagles, stopping the tush push. Just fantastic game. And I'm sure the Eagles remember that game just like we do. So the Eagles are going to come back into Raymond James Stadium. This is their third time playing the Bucs in less than a year. Eagles are going to come back looking for some revenge in this game. And as for the Philadelphia Eagles, they're coming off a big win against the Bucs division rival, the New Orleans Saints. Kind of crazy. The Eagles are already going to have played 3 out of their 4 NFC South teams in 4 weeks of football. They've played the Falcons, lost to the Falcons, played the Saints, beat the Saints, and now they're playing the Buccaneers.
I think it's nice to do that early because you're prepped for what you saw, and then you come back around and play them again, and you're ready.
Yeah, it's a lot of division games late, though. Like, that's one of those deals where you might end up playing the same team twice in a 3-week span in your division,
Yeah.
But you want to play the Bucs later on this season because of the heat.
True.
So, yeah. Anyways, but Eagles are coming off a win against the Saints. And important to know that the Eagles could be pretty thin at the wide receiver position. A.J. Brown has been out for multiple games. Not quite sure of his status for the game, but I don't think he was in some type of short-term injury situation. So I'm not sure that he'll be playing. And also, Devontae Smith got hurt in the last game. Devontae Smith, their other star wide receiver, missed a couple weeks. It's probably 50-50 A.J. Brown plays on Sunday. Also, Devontae Smith, he left the game with concussion-like symptoms. That we've already seen that a concussion can take a player out for at least a couple weeks from what we saw from Luke Gedeke. I think the play was pretty apparent. He was woozy and stuff like that on Sunday against the Saints. So the Eagles could be down their top 2 wide receivers. So that makes what I'm about to say even more important, and that is stopping the Eagles' rushing attack. The Philadelphia Eagles got first rounded by the Bucs last year, so they decided they needed to make a huge splash change, and they did that by acquiring former Giants running back Saquon Barkley, and he has been fantastic to start the season, and he's made them a formidable rushing attack. This is kind of similar to what they were in 2022, and I think they're trying to get back to that identity. So now we have Jalen Hurts, who is one of the best rushing quarterbacks in the league, and you have Saquon Barkley, one of the best running backs in the league. Eagles' rushing attack is deadly. They average 167 yards per game this season on the ground. And you look back at last year, the Eagles and the Bucs played twice in the season. Regular season, the Buccaneers get blown out by the Eagles. The Eagles run for 201 yards. Flash forward to the playoff game. The Bucs blow out the Eagles. The Eagles only run for 42 rushing yards. That is a stark difference.
That's crazy.
And it's pretty apparent that is going to be the biggest key of the game. Hoping, praying that our defensive line is healthy. But if not, the guys there are going to have to find a way to have a better impact on this rushing attack for the Eagles than they did against the Broncos. Because we already mentioned it was not very good on Sunday.
Yeah. So hopefully, in theory, we can if their passing game is so bad, we can bring in our corners in to help with the rushing game or something.
Absolutely. The box will be loaded. If Antoine Winfield's there, he'll be down in the box. Jordan Whitehead will for sure be in the box. That guy is wherever the ball is.
He finds the ball.
He will find the ball. Christian Eisen, if he's in, will be in the box. All pretty good tackling, safeties and stuff. Linebackers have to be better. If I'm Todd Bowles, I think I might give Savache Dennis some first and second down run because of what I've seen from KJ Britt. But if not, KJ Britt has to play a better game. He is the run-stopping linebacker. He is the guy that, we're he might give up some big explosive passing plays. He might not be able to cover running backs, but he dang well will stop the run, and he hasn't done that. So he's kind of proven to be a pretty ineffective player. So if KJ Britt's in there, I need him to have a big game. He had a huge game against Philadelphia in the playoffs last year. Begging you, KJ Britt, have a breakout game this week. I want to see that moxie, that attitude. He's a dog out there, and I want to see it this week. Levante David, he's solid as ever. He'll be in the mix. Not worried about him. But, yeah, so that's KJ Britt's a player on the defense to look out for. Absolutely a player that I'm looking out for. I'm also looking out for Jamel Dean. I think Jamel Dean has kind of been the lesser of the two corners that the Bucs have, which is crazy to say comparing him to Zion McCollum. But I think Jamel Dean, I've liked what I've seen from him mostly, and I think that he's going to come up with a big play. Maybe an interception on Sunday. Maybe I'm going to call it Jamel Dean interception on Sunday. Maybe I'm just saying that on the podcast. You know what I'm saying? And as for offense, it's pretty simple to me. Don't let Baker Mayfield get sacked. You got any offensive keys?
I say get that running game going early. Like get the pattern going, get the routine going, and just stick the ball down the Eagles' throats.
Absolutely. I think the Eagles have a pretty formidable defensive line, but they have been kind of underperforming. Let's see. What are the Eagles giving up with rushing games? Just pulling up the stats for you fellas. Saints, team stats. 89 rushing yards for the Saints, so they did a pretty good job. But if I recall correctly on Monday Night Football, Bijan Mustard Robinson, the Falcons ran for 152 yards on the Eagles on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I was watching that game. Every play was Robinson.
And then the Green Bay Packers also ran for 163 yards against them in Brazil Week 1. So this rushing defense is not the same thing it was last year or the year before. The Bucs definitely can have some creases, and I think it starts with Bucky Irving. I think he's going to come out. He's going to build off his big momentum, and I think he's going to inspire Rachaad White to run even better. I don't think it's going to be a butting of heads. It's going to be an inspiration for both of them, and I think the Bucs are going to get back to what they did Week 1, which is rushing for over 100 yards. Joel, if you are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, are you concerned or making a concerted effort to throw the ball to Mike Evans a little bit more? He's been kind of underused the last couple of weeks. Are you concerned about it? Is that kind of what the defense has been taking? What do you think?
It is concerning because I feel like when Mike Evans is underutilized, that's when you see more of his oopsie drops. So that is kind of scary. And it's kind of scary that we're not throwing to him because are we scared about the oopsie drops?
I think last week Mike Evans was covered by Pat Surtain a lot, who is by a lot of measures the best cornerback in the National Football League. So I do think that has something to do with it. The Philadelphia Eagles, they actually boast two rookie cornerbacks. I think Darius Slay has been playing, so they have one really, really old cornerback and then two rookie cornerbacks. So this could be a game for Mike Evans to finally blossom out of it.
A little bounce back game?
Yeah, a little bounce back game. I will say last week the tight ends were a little bit more involved. I want to look up Cade Otton's stats because he did have a little bit something going on. 7 receptions, 47 yards for Cade Otton. I would love to see them continue that with the tight end game. But, yeah, honestly, this week comes down to Bucs offensive line. I think when the Bucs offensive line hasn't been letting Baker get sacked, they've moved the ball up and down the field at will. It's just 12 sacks in 2 games has pretty much every drive Baker's gotten sacked, that drive has been derailed. And that's where they've struggled as opposed to Week 1 and early on in Week 2. So that's my key for the Bucs offense. Keep Baker upright. Joel's saying get the rush game, go early. I completely agree with that. I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah, don't abandon it.
Oh, yes, that too. And get creative with the run game. Maybe test the edge. Maybe do the 2 running back thing again. I love those plays with both Bucky and Rachaad White. Love that. So, with that all being said, Joel, how you feeling about this game?
I'm so far in the middle. I feel like I can almost flip my score either way. I'll go positive. I'm gonna say 27-17 Bucs.
Wow, 10-point Bucs win.
That's what I'm saying. It's I feel like I could flip that into Eagles and feel comfortable as well.
It's gonna be a good game. I think it's 2. I think playoff teams in the NFC. Yeah. 2 potential division winners. I don't see anyone beating the Eagles in the NFC East, and I think the Bucs are still the clear best team in the NFC South. Going to be a really good game. I got Will right here, and he thinks it's going to be a really, really good game, but it's typical Will. He's got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's got them winning 23-21. So that's 2 out of 2. And I'm going last, so I'm not going to ruin the panel. I know some people.
Can. Okay, well, we're kind of biased, I guess.
No, yeah, I guess some people are really mad that we pick against their team and they comment, all the things about it. Wrong episode, guys. Sorry. We'll get to you guys in the college episode. I think it's gonna be a really good game. I think almost the Bucs losing this last game makes me feel a little bit better about
we definitely woke up.
Yeah, and I don't think this is a dominant Eagles team, especially if they don't have the wide receivers, especially if the Bucs, if they get Gedeke back, which is likely, and they get 1 out of the 2 of Winfield and Vita Vea, I think they win this game. And I think they win it pretty handily. I think, not really concerning. Not last play. I think they're going to win this game legit, and I'm going to say they're going to win 24-16. The Bucs win. So, yeah, all Bucs this weekend. I think that we still believe in the Bucs. We still believe that they are going to bounce back from this horrible performance, but it's been done before, like we said.
I'm just trying to figure out, I'm still, working on my football, math. I'm, 16. What's that look like?
3 field goals and a touchdown. 2 touchdowns, 1 missed extra point, and a field goal.
Okay, touchdown, 3 field goals. All right.
That's what it is.
Yeah. I was like, I'm trying to envision that one.
Let me see. Any more Will things? Will is not worried about Mike Evans. He says that he's seen that the other teams have game planned to stop Mike, so they have used Chris Godwin more. He would like to see Jalen McMillan and Trey Palmer get a little bit more involved, which I can agree. And that's it from Will in the sick cave. Rays baseball. So Tampa Bay Rays are approaching the final week of the regular season. It's actually, when you're listening, they have started their final week of the regular season. We watched the Tampa Bay Rays probably lose the biggest game of their season, so I think that's where we should start. We should start today, because today the 78-78 Tampa Bay Rays played the 82-74 Detroit Tigers. And if you're asking me, why is this such a big game, Colby? It's a big game because the Tampa Bay Rays were not fully out of the playoff contention. They sat 4 games back with 6 games remaining, and the team they're behind is the Detroit Tigers, the team that they're playing right now. So they really had a way to kind of control their destiny in a way. Not fully, but a way to at least put some pressure on these other wildcard teams. And it started today. This was a big game, a big hurdle, and the Bucs stop saying Bucs. And the Rays...
It's football season in your head.
It's a big hurdle, and the Rays hit their leg on that hurdle and fell all over themselves. Because the Detroit Tigers had their ace, Tariq Skubal, pitching on the mound against Ryan Pepiot, and it was a pitcher's duel. Tariq Skubal would go 7 innings pitched, 2 hits allowed, and only 0 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. Sounds like a big Rays game to me. Ryan Pepiot would go 5 innings pitched and only allow 2, but he would allow 2 earned runs. Pretty controversial in the 5th inning. Couple of calls that could have gone the way of the Rays, maybe be strike 3, 0 runs. The Rays are out of the inning, but instead, it's a ground rule double from Winsell Perez in the 5th. That would be how the Tigers would get their 2 earned runs. And then in the top of the 9th, Brandon Lau would try to get the Rays back in it with a 2-out solo home run to make it 2-1. But the Rays would crush our dreams very swiftly after that, as Josh Lowe would strike out. And the Rays would lose 2-1 to the Tigers. Joel, just based on this game, what are we thinking?
I mean, I'm so sad. I honestly didn't realize that they changed the time of the game. So I come in to record today and I find out they lost, and so my playoff hopes have been crushed in the last 45 minutes. So, because I was driving today and I was like, we're in a sequel era right now. Everybody's making sequels, Star Wars, Marvel, Indiana Jones, you name it. So I was like, we're about to get a sequel to 2011, and it's the Rays, but they canceled the sequel plans tonight, and I'm really sad.
Yeah, it was kind of like the magic got crushed before it even could get started.
Yeah.
I was really hoping
That's what I was saying with the Bucs. I'm like, Bucs are 2-0. Dreams are crushed yesterday a little bit. Rays sweep the weekend. Dreams are crushed today.
Yeah, it was a bad weekend for Tampa Bay sports. I think that
bad 24 hours.
Really just really sad, man, because this was a game that, it's a big Rays game. Typical fashion. The offense just does not produce. Ryan Pepiot does his job. He could have come out with a shutout, but He comes out and only gives up 2 earned runs. That's enough to win. Then the bullpen comes in. 3 shutout innings by Poche and Mason Montgomery. They did their job. The Rays offense did not do their job. And I mean, 10 strikeouts on the day for the Rays offense. And it's just frustrating. I think that this is kind of just a repeat of every single time that the Rays have a big game in this current era, the offense disappoints, man. I mean, I look back to the wild card games of the last 2 years. You don't have to hear it from us. You guys probably already know. They had a crazy scoreless streak. They could not get any runs on the board, and it was big games. And then even you look back at 2021, big games. Boston series, the offense with, 2021 was probably the best Rays offense of all time. That offense only produces a couple runs a game, and it hurts. 2020, Game 6, we all talk about Blake Snell, but the Rays, they scored 1 run that game. 1 run. The Rays offense continually does not produce in big games, and it's so frustrating. To me, there's one thing that is in common with all of these teams, and it's your hitting coach, Chad Mottola. I think he's got to go. I think he needs to be canned, and unfortunately at this point, it seems like the Rays have the best pitching coach in the major leagues. Yep. And the worst hitting coach, because it's just different players have the same problems. And I get that this is not the most talented Rays lineup. You got Taylor Walls hitting. You had Alex Jackson hitting for a while. You have Jose Caballero, not a great hitter. You have a lot of players hitting around 200. Chris Morel is hitting under 200. I get it. Not a great lineup. They still have talent, and it's still the same problems that we've seen. These are talented prospects. These are people that have had success with other teams at other times. I mean, guys like Jonathan Aranda are on crazy streaks, and it feels like they've been like let out of a cage the last couple weeks. Johnny DeLucas feel like he's been let out of a cage. I'm really sick and tired of the Rays hitting coach Chad Mottola. That's about it.
It's been the same problem over the last 3 or 4 hitting coaches though. You can't blame the hitting coach. The guy used to, and then they fired him. They fired Derek Shelton. I hated Derek Shelton. And it didn't get better when we fired him. It's not going to get better if we fired Chad Mottola.
I don't know. It's not going to get better if we leave him, so.
I don't know.
Switch up could help.
Look, Brandon Lyles hit 20 home runs plus this year. What if we switch it and he doesn't do that anymore?
Yeah, if he goes down, but then 5 other players play way better than they did last year. It's a fair
2/3
of the lineup is hitting 200.
I will have no hope in the next hitting coach. That's my end
And it does come down to players. The players have to hit the ball, but I'm just saying, when you see the same problem over and over with different players, it's got to go a little bit on coaching. But the Rays, the players too, they got to do a better job. They strike out way too much, 10 strikeouts a day, and it's very often you watch a Rays game, they're striking out double-digit times. That is kind of the norm when it comes to Rays baseball. Hitting with runners in scoring position, not many opportunities. Screwball is a great pitcher. It's unfortunate that we had to play him this week, but you got to beat. If you want to be a playoff team, if you want to make that run, you got to beat good pitchers in the playoffs, or to get in the playoffs, and they haven't. The Rays really have never done that this year, and this was kind of just all the hype and the magic. This game really just grounded you back into this is still the 2024 Rays. This is still the same problems. This is still the same team that we've kind of checked out on because they really don't have a winning recipe because of just yet because of the way it's constructed. So that really frustrated me. Just tough game, man. Tough game. Ryan Pepio, 4 walks. That's really why he ended up, giving up those 2 earned runs and not going deeper into the game because he had good stuff. And yeah.
Okay, I did a tiny bit more research on this, and I'll admit it. I'll change my stance. Chad Mottola has been the hitting coach since 2016, and we've sucked pretty bad since 2016. So get him out, and crazier things might happen. We've had 2 straight really bad hitting coaches, Derek Shelton and Mottola. So, crazy.
Third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm. And also, I might look into it, and if I find it in time, I'll say it. But in 2009, we had a shockingly good offense. And let me see who the hitting coach at that time was. It doesn't matter, but the point is that, we've had better hitting coaches for sure.
Yeah, and while he's doing that, I can just kind of give you guys an update on, what the Rays would need to make the playoffs. As of right now, the Rays would have to pretty much win the rest of their games. And they would be looking for the Kansas City Royals to go 0-6 this week. I'm sure they played. Maybe we'll do a little score check right now. What's going on around the league? Royals and Nationals 0-0, top of the 7th. So hoping for a Nationals walk-off win. Who else? Where are we finding? Mariners up 3-1 on the Astros. What the heck, guys? Come on, Houston. One time I'm cheering for you. Marlins up 4-1 against the Twins. There we go, Miami. Good stuff. But honestly, losing today really hurts your chances. The Rays are pretty much going to need the Tigers to lose out because the tiebreakers need the Royals to lose out. They need the Twins to go 2-4 to go out. They need the Mariners to go 2-4, and the Mariners have already won a game. So they need them to go 1-4 for the rest of the week, and then they need Boston to go 3-3, and they play Boston. But the Rays have put them in a position where they're on the brink. I
can't write them out yet.
It's
I can't write them out until the day the E goes on the standings,
which will probably be like in 2 days.
Now I got 2 more days to believe.
Hey, believe all you can. Tune into the Rays. Maybe they'll win the rest of the games.
I got him. Steve Henderson.
Bring him back.
Steve Henderson, come on back. I'm trying to find how old you are. I can't find it. He is...
That's a really hard name to figure out. It's so basic.
I got it. He's 72 years old. Oof. There's still life. Steve Henderson, if you're listening, call up the Rays. They'll hire you, and we're going to have another 2009 Rays offense. Pitching was the problem in 2009. That's the thing. Get their 2009 Rays offense twirling again.
And we got the pitching.
We got it. We were going to the World Series.
As for just kind of the rest of the Rays, moment, last week the Rays had their final homestand and they won 5 out of 6. So that was kind of nice to see them go out on top at home. It's been a rough season at Tropicana Field. We should know we went to
17
and
games.
I think I went to 17 too. We didn't go to every game together, guys. That would have been a little bit weird, but we did go to plenty of games together, okay? But
that is crazy. We had the same number.
Yeah, it makes sense though. We went to a lot, man. But we went to 17 games. I was 5-12.
I probably was like 4-13 or something.
So brutal years for us at Tropicana Field, just like it was a brutal year for the Rays in Tropicana Field. I think they finished about 500 because they won 5 out of their last 6. Jonathan Aranda, last 12 games, he's been on a tear. He's hitting .325, 5 home runs, and a 1.128 OPS. Crazy stuff from the guy, Johnny Aranda. And last week, Shane Baz and Ryan Pepio had really good starts, so that was really encouraging. Can't wait to watch them in 2025. Also, another thing, Kevin Kelly, our hero, our sidewinding hero, has not given up an earned run since July 23rd. That is 20-plus innings.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. So shout out him. Any other Rays notes from the final homestand last week or going forward?
Just for the sake of giving numbers, we ended the season 28th in attendance at 16,515.
Not too bad. Would like to see it higher. I think last year was much better. Last year, I think regular season attendance was closer to the 20,000, man.
I'll get you real quick.
It definitely was better. I did see another stat that the Rays did not have a home crowd that was under 10,000 at all in any home game this year.
17,781.
Not as much as I thought, but
yeah, bad. That's surprising. It's like you don't think it's bad, then you look and it's like, oh, it's bad.
But not a game under 10,000 fans for the first time in a while this year. So good on you guys, Rays fans. Not bad season attendance-wise. I know it was up and down and a lot of down. And then all the players got traded. But I would say there's nothing to really complain about this year that's different than any of the Rays' attendance issues of the years before.
No. I mean, baseball as a whole is going down. Like back 10 years ago, our attendance would have been higher, but now it's kind of just the norm in baseball. I think it might be
going up, actually.
No, like in 2009, the Rays' attendance was...
Rays-wise. But I think league-wise, it might be going up.
It might be recovering a little. It might be going up a little bit. But just for context, for the sake of the conversation, in 2009, the year after our World Series visit, we had 23,187.
That's sad, man.
So that's just food for thought. But I mean, it is kind of baseball as a whole. You can watch every YouTube video in the world. It's because all the old people like baseball, and the old people died, and less people like baseball. The end.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so I guess 5 more Rays games. If you want to believe, you can believe.
I believe.
But, yeah, I mean, watch them. until they're out or keep watching. I mean, there's storylines. You get to watch Junior Caminero head his final week of the season, heading into next year. You get to watch this young Rays pitching staff: Boz, Pepio, Bradley, all these guys. Bradley had a much better start this weekend against Toronto. That's good to see. Some random idiot on the show was asking for him to be traded. I don't know who that guy was. Just kidding. Maybe he was upping his trade value for that situation. But good start for Bradley, Alexander, Rasmussen. You can see those guys. A lot of players that you will see now will be on your team next year. You get to maybe see the last couple games of Yanni Diaz and Brandon Lau. Don't know what those guys are going to be. I hope they're here next year, but it's the Rays. I never want to really rule anything out.
20 home runs. Lau does have some trade value.
Yeah, he's had a really good season. He's been probably the brightest spark. I think MVP of this year, without question. Christopher Morel, check him out. The bullpen is a lot of young guys. We just mentioned Kelly, Uceda, Manny Rodriguez, Mason Montgomery. These guys are electric arms. They're going to be on your team next year, so watch them. Just even watch these guys to get a feel, because I think they're going to come in spring training next year with a lot to prove. Shane McClanahan was in the booth talking to Dwayne and Brian Anderson. He's been throwing live batting practice. He's going to be back. Pitching staff's going to be gross. I just praying, some of these prospects flourish and the good batters, and maybe the Rays can,
I mean, like
get one or two.
any given season.
Yeah, but can we get one or two experienced bats?
All right, well, here's what happens. Stu wants to make it seem like he's a better owner than the owner of the A's, and he gets a mid-tier batter.
I'll take it.
I mean, we can dream. It's not gonna have, but we can dream.
Like someone who was an all-star 2 years ago. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm seeing the vision. Seeing the vision.
There it is. There it is.
That dude's a scumbag. Did you see? Oh my gosh, his written message.
We tried.
Oh my gosh. No, you didn't. Yeah. Dude, I saw on TV some reporter was ripping him in Oakland. He was giving all the people that would have bought it, that would have tried, and it was good. It was good. If you just look up local reporter bashes John Fisher, A's owner, and you'll probably find it. But it was really good. So
he's probably one of the most hated people in sports right now.
He sucks.
He's so annoying.
I hate him. He sucks. I think they had their last games in the Coliseum.
They did. It was on Sunday.
Yes.
Yep.
That's sad, man.
There's a small chance they might have to play there next year, but it's small.
I think they're locked
Sacramento.
in the Sacramento, unless it gets revoked or something.
Yeah, if it gets revoked, they might have to crawl back to Oakland for another year, which would be kind of funny.
That would be really funny.
If it happens, I might go fly out to Oakland for a game.
I actually would root for that just to spite John Fisher. Oh, he's pissed.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Yeah, so check out your Rays. 5 games, 2 more against Detroit, 3 more against Boston. Record?
I mean, we're going out winning that 7 games. We go 5-2.
It's 5 games.
5 games, 4-1.
Okay, I'm gonna say, the Rays are gonna go 3-2, and finish the season 81-81.
Oh, you're right. That is perfect.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. Richie Palacios is back. He'll hit a home run.
One more home run from Jose Siri, and then he's out the door.
Yeah, that's another thing. Watch Johnny DeLuca. He's your center fielder next year. It'll be fun.
He is.
Yeah, so that's episode 57. Comment down below, do you guys think the Bucs will bounce back and beat the Eagles on Sunday? Comment down below, do you guys think that us all picking the Bucs is being biased? Do you like when we're biased, or do you think we're delusional, or do we have good points? I think we have good points. Also, comment down below if you ever believe that the Rays would make the playoffs in the last 24 to 48 hours. I don't know. We'll see. Were you guys having 2011 flashbacks? I know I was, and they crushed my dreams today. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to YouTube. Hit the like button. Comment those things. Follow us on Spotify. Hit the 5 stars. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at TB3SportsTalk /X. And have a beautiful and blessed night.